Ladies and gentlemen, to the Call of Duty World League presented by the PlayStation 4.
The 16 best teams in the world
with $700,000 up for grabs. Every day, these guys are grinding, they're practicing, they're strategizing, they're waiting for this.
We have got the world's elite here. This is the final stage in the Global Pro League. This is do or die.
I think people are going to come with a purpose. It honestly could be anyone.
There's going to be a lot of competition.
We're playing the best teams in the world, so every match is a grind.
Popping the reactive before the players even shoot, and look at the energy from Havoc and Namor.
And MindFreak are remaining in the CWL Global Pro League.
They don't want to take it, just get it. Oh my God! Oh my goodness!
That was sick.
It's coming down to the wire. LG just a couple seconds away. Luminosity will do it.
Anything in this game could happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, just 2 weeks after Anaheim, the Call of Duty World League continues. It is time for Stage 2 of the Call of Duty World League Global Pro League. We've brought in 16 of the world's best squads to compete for $700,000. And to tell you all about it, I brought in some of the greatest names in Call of Duty esports. We got Joey DeLuca. We got Momo here, our UK expert, as well as TP, the 2014 world champion. You saw him back in those days on Complexity. Fellas, how are we feeling? We're back here in Columbus, Ohio for Stage 2.
Feel real good. I'm really excited to get Stage 2 kicked off. Obviously, Anaheim was awesome. Stage 1 was great, but this back half of the year, your Stage 2 champs, it's going to get real intense.
Momo, Stage 1 was pretty incredible. Can Stage 2 top it?
I think that's the interesting thing. Every time we go into a game now, we're comparing it to Stage 1. We're thinking these teams matched up previously. We're talking about Anaheim, of course, that's just gone by. And I think it just means it's ever so more important for these guys to talk. Of course, so much money on the line still, but still very important for everyone to form from day 1 all the way to day 3.
TV, this is kind of the last big event before we get into the Call of Duty World League Championship. Over $1 million on the line there, but you have 700 grand to make in just a few weeks here in Stage 2. What are you looking forward to most?
Some crazy stuff going on. We've seen in competitive Call of Duty in general over the years. Sort of the first half of the year, the sort of top teams can change dramatically. We're getting to that part of the year now with the most prize money on the line that we've seen thus far. So I think we're going to see the best Infinite Warfare played at this stage here. These new rosters are formed. They have some time under their belt finally. I want to see how well they can play.
Over $2 million up for grabs between now and the end of August. Joe, before we get to the Call of Duty World League Championship, though, we have to update everyone on how the stages work. We're now in Stage 2. For anyone who missed Stage 1, break it down for us. How does it work?
Yeah, so you heard in that introduction, you have 16 of the world's best teams in the world split up into 4 groups over 4 weeks. So right away, we have Group Red, Group Blue, Group Yellow, Group Green. You have obviously 16 teams. 2 of them from each group will go on to the $500,000 playoff. Then on our 5th week, we'll have our playoff weekend, crown ourselves a Stage 2 champion.
The playoffs, that's the moment we're all waiting for. But before we get to that, we have to go one by one with the groups. And Momo, let's remind everybody what is up for grabs. Of course, it's $700,000, but how does that break down?
I mean, obviously, you've got your 200,000, for Stage 2, but it's all about not only just competing and going for that first place, but you've got to be going for that playoff prize in $500,000, $500,000 on the line. Like, last season, or last stage, should I say, of course, Splice took that 200,000, a big chunk of change, but it goes all the way down to $10,000 for that 7th, 8th position. But of course, you've got to get there. Like Joe said, you've got to come top 2 in your group to progress to that playoff. And of course, our Group Red, which we've got this week, these are your 4 teams.
And TP, everyone that is in this list right now, they've already had $12,500 sent to their bank account. They're playing for much more. Who has the best chance, though, of making it on to play in the playoffs for the $500K?
Well, I think those top 2 teams you see right there, Luminosity Gaming and Evil Geniuses, they had the best showings, obviously, at Anaheim. Luminosity being your winners there. The biggest thing, though, all these teams have to play each other twice throughout the first stage. We saw some teams sort of improve from day to day, whereas some teams just didn't really get the ball rolling at all. So it's going to be interesting to see if MindFreak, for example, didn't have the greatest showing at stage 1. Can they sort of get the ball rolling early here? You know, these matches early on day 1, super important.
And if you remember back to stage 1, EG and Fnatic, they were in a very intense pool. At the end of day 1, Fnatic was looking great. You had EG 0-2. EG, they come back on days 2 and 3, and they finish at the top of their group, and they go in with the #1 seed for the playoffs. Will they be able to do it again? I don't think it's going to happen. We have LG in their way, and we got to talk about Luminosity Gaming as we look at our first matchup. It's going to be the Australians of MindFreak going up against our Anaheim champions. The question for me, guys, is just how good is Luminosity? You can see the schedule there. We get to see them twice. What are you looking for, Joe?
Just the slaying power. I mean, we've talked about it, you know, consistently all year long. Even stage 1, they were our runner-ups. You know, they do fall to splice, but at Anaheim, they just showed when all 4 of them are playing, it's so hard to stop them. They're our Anaheim champions. They're probably the best team in the world right now.
Momo, we have Fnatic, EG, and MindFreak all battling LG for that top spot. Who are you looking to get the first upset out of these 3 teams? Who could potentially take down this Luminosity?
I think this Luminosity is one which I fear that no one is going to take down this weekend. And we've seen it previously in stage 1 where they've always had those kind of slip-ups. You know, even the likes of FaZe kind of came in and was a little, you know, we thought they'd just go 6-0 in their groups, and they didn't. I fear that LG may be a bit too strong. They just won Anaheim. They blew out most of the competition. And looking at it here, these teams in this group, I don't think kind of match up to that. However, I think the interesting thing is going to be that fight for second place. You've got Europeans, of course, Fnatic going toe-to-toe, the best in Australia, and then EG, which has obviously just made a roster change, which seems to have paid off. They performed well at Anaheim, so I'll be interested to see how these all match up. And they've, of course, got history between themselves, all these teams.
Lots of great matches coming your way today, live from Columbus, Ohio. We are kicking off stage 1, though, with the battle. It's Luminosity going up against MindFreak. Luminosity, they're the new champions, coming in with all kinds of confidence. And we talked to MindFreak about their thoughts of winning this match.
If we're going to have any chance of beating LG, we're going to have to take the 2 S&Ds, and then with the 1 respawn that we do take, we're going to have to, you know, all have the best games. We know we can beat them. It's just coming down to playing well and getting our kills.
When we face MindFreak this weekend, I think if we outslay them in the respawn modes, we'll take it pretty easily. In S&D game modes, I think that if we just play together and do our thing like we have been doing, then I think we'll be fine.
So we were swept by LG back in Dallas for a top 8 finish, I believe. It was Sunday morning early. We had minimal sleep. I believe they came in fresh as they had an earlier finish on a Saturday night. If we play even and someone doesn't go off against us, you know, we can beat them. But it's going to be a close series.
Going into the match, we're going to do our thing. We're going to play our game, and we're not going to change much about it just because we've beaten all the North American teams, beaten all the European teams, so I don't think we really have to change anything. I think this will be like their true test to see what they can do as a team.
Not a whole lot of confidence coming in there from MindFreak, but they said if we're going to get the wins, we have to be able to slay. Luminosity, we have seen the devastation that they can just wreak havoc across their opponents, and as we look at these maps, fellas, good news for this MindFreak squad is you went 2-0 and scorched hardpoint. Can you do it? Can you make it 3-0 against LG?
I think that's a very small silver lining, but I like where you're going with that one, Chris. I think overall this should be a very quick 3-0. I think LG finally has that confidence that they struggled with earlier on in the year. There were some rumors were they going to make a change. They weren't really getting those results we were expecting from them. But I think the sort of, you know, underestimated player on the team in Saints has really stepped up his game, and that's why they've been so dominant back-to-back finals. He's been that difference maker for me, and that's why they're so well-rounded and almost unbeatable.
And looking at those maps, games 2, 3, and 4 were just so Luminosity favored. I mean, throwback uplink, they were like 5-0, and I just remember Octane absolutely destroying on that. Retail hardpoint, they played so well at Anaheim. And then Crusher, Search and Destroy, even going back to stage 1, that was the one map they just seemed to understand. They only do a few things on it, nothing too special, but they stick together. Their decision-making on Crusher, Search and Destroy is great. Those games 2, 3, and 4, I just don't see MindFreak beating them.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Joe. I think we saw it in the video there. Fido was kind of saying we've got to win our 2 S&Ds. He's got to get to that final S&D, and that's what I fear with these guys. They've got to steal a respawn, and I just think it could be very, very daunting for those. This could be a very punishing loss for them, and I think game 1, day 1, maybe you'd argue is their best chance because these guys haven't had that kind of performance for, you know, what is it, 2 weeks now? But the one thing I will say to kind of play devil's advocate is the boys from MindFreak, they've been in Atlanta, they've been screaming and really kind of putting effort in. They've been all communicating and trying to play, but I just think it's too much of an ask. They might win the first S&D, they might come close, but I've got to go with LG.
I think MindFreak shocked a lot of people in Stage 1 when they upset Cloud9 and eventually took that 3rd place in their pool. They locked in their spot at Stage 2, and most importantly, the Call of Duty World League Championships in August. But now they're going to have to pull off a win on day 1 for me. I don't know if it's going to happen here against Luminosity, and I'm going to kind of take this as an opportunity just to do a scouting report on this MindFreak squad. We know that they made a big team change. It was a controversial team change. Some people saying, why get rid of Excite? He was the player that ups the tempo. Well, they brought on Dens, one of the most historically strong players from Australia. TP, Merc, what are you guys looking at in particular when you're comparing these teams?
I think the biggest thing we need to touch on first is how darn good Shox was in Stage 1. He needs to have somewhat of a same performance as we saw from him. He had something like, what, like a 1.3 KD overall throughout that first group, and they were only able to get 3rd. And it's hard to replicate those sort of performances. So I think bringing in Dens, they lose, not a lot of pressure, because it is a good roster change overall. Dens, fantastic player, we all know that. But I think Excite really upped the tempo on especially maps like Throwback and Scorch, for example, and I think that's why they struggle a bit. He was that ERAD, that first line, that sort of bait for them, and I feel like it paid off. So they just need to up that tempo as much as they can.
Merc, I'm told we got to keep this real short.
Okay.
What are you looking at?
Who's going in first, right? That was the thing with Excite. He had the ERAD. He was baiting for his team. It's got to be Fighter or Shox to allow Dens and Buzzo to pick up those kills, because, again, but that's a huge change. So now Fighter, Shox, those first gunfights have to go their way. Excite, he was used to doing that. Now the pressure is all on these guys. That's what I'm going to be looking for.
You got to up the tempo, and you know you're going to have Saints waiting for you on the other side. We have our casters ready. Game number 1 is just moments away. Maven, Courage, take it away.
Thank you, gentlemen. Excited to kick it off here for Stage 2. $700,000 on the line. It's going to be fun, pal.
It most certainly is. We're back here at the Columbus Arena, the MLG Arena in Columbus, Ohio, all ready for another 5 straight weeks of Call of Duty action.
Yeah.
And I think we take a 1-week break and we're right into COD Champs. So much Call of Duty to be played, Maven. I cannot wait.
I'm pumped, man. They were talking about the whole Buzzo thing a little bit with MindFreak, because this is tough. You have the best team in the world right now with Luminosity going up against the best team in APAC, but it is very much a David versus Goliath scenario. But it was curious. We had Buzzo on Hot Mic, and we were talking to him about the team change, and it's been interesting. He's taken a bit of flack for sure.
Absolutely.
But just hearing it from his word of mouth, or the reason they were doing the change, it reminds me a little bit. There's so many people supporting the Clayster side of the trade with Gunless because the intangibles he brings. They felt that he brought a lot of those. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to making the right plays on the map, maybe in the end this is going to be the right fit for them. Can they get it done here?
Well, if they do get it done here, that would be quite the start for them here in Stage 2. When we talk about who comes in 2nd place this weekend, EG have to be your favorite, but MindFreak and Fnatic will both be hot on their heels. We're ready for game number 1. It's going to be Scorch Hardpoint between, again, the best team in Call of Duty right now. Luminosity with arguably the best player in the world, Octane. I'm wondering what type of numbers he puts up this weekend.
And I'll tell you what, last time we saw Luminosity on Scorch Hardpoint was the crazy game 1 in the final verse Splice, 250 to 249, one of the best hardpoints we've ever seen in the Call of Duty World League. We'll see if maybe we can relive some of that magic here.
That's where I yelled, "Daddy's home" on broadcast. Thankfully, I've kept my job, and I'm still here this weekend. Here we go, baby. We're kicking things off with Classic, the camo player from the side of Luminosity. They'll be your red team in this series. He's going to probably be the one breaking right towards middle. Double cluster grenades, great here to force players out from challenging behind this mid-barrel area.
He's going to go right up and check over the lava pit. Easy kill for him. Tags up one of the back. Everybody getting involved for Luminosity early. Opening break, no surprise, goes their way.
Wow, and the confidence to not even use one of those grenades now. He'll go ahead and toss them on out, try to deflect more time for his team. So this is kind of what we talked about with MindFreak, right? We know they're going to struggle, especially in slaying against a team like Luminosity. But what's crazy, Maven, and when we talk about the caliber of practice that MindFreak gets here in North America versus the APAC region, last year, even when obviously there were some team changes, yada yada, either way, this core trio would slay so hard in APAC that it wasn't even fair. But now they come to North America, and it's a completely different story.
Yeah, we talked last night to Buzzo a little bit about it. I was kind of saying, what's it like for you? You've seen the European side, the balance of power has gotten so much closer to the top. We just had 2 of the top 3 teams at Anaheim come from EU. And, you know, you always have that debate, at least for Australia and New Zealand, like they have those deep champs run. You know, you have these strong finishes to kind of hold on to. They haven't had one in quite some time. And when I asked them kind of the single biggest thing holding them back, it went back to that every time. It went back to the practice. You're only as good as your competition. They need to start finding a way to, you know, get some better scrims, keep improving.
Well, what a play right there. You just saw from Classic as he was able to get 2. Now the 3rd onto Buzzo, an example of a kill that Buzzo just has to get right there. Unacceptable to die, especially when you've got that cover right in front of you. Just like that, it's an LG break, all led by Classic. He's now triple positive at 6-2.
Well, let's get over to Classic's POV if we can, just because the 4 streak is on now. 25 off picking the Scarab, and we'll see if he can keep that going. Also doing a nice job there towards the camo, but unfortunately it shocks. He was a superstar right in stage 1, absolute monster, basically led in every single category for his team. They're going to need that shocks this weekend for sure.
Oh,
if they've got a chance.
There's no doubt. The issue is he put up those numbers, and even then they weren't able to do too many things. You mentioned 2 and 10 in their last 12 series at the last 2 major LAN events between Stage 1 and Anaheim. Unacceptable for MindFreak, especially when going into this weekend. They picked up Dens for a reason, and they need him to show off right now. He is currently leading his team in time at 27 seconds in the hard point.
Well, let's see what Fida and crew are able to do to try and break here in Hangar. First one drops, Buzzo down as well. Everybody falling in control quickly for Luminosity. Some nice shots over the top there from Saints. Classic there to trade out the kill, and Saints here to try and back them up. Doing a good job so far, just peppering shots in and staying alive, but finally gets pushed and cut down.
Yeah, I think he thought he was still weak, went for the quick beatdown. Doesn't work out, but either way, you're keeping things relatively close if you're MindFreak, but already it's double the score for LG. We talk about one thing, though, in this game. It's the earlier rotations for MindFreak so far. Think of what we've seen. They won the first rotation over towards Turbine. They won the second rotation over towards Hangar. But I think the bigger thing to look at, Maven, is that more time for both of those hills has gone to LG. It's a testament to not only their ability to break in straight-up 4v4 gunfights, but also their ability to then lock down the hill once they get control. We'll see if they can do it again here at Drill.
It speaks a lot to the confidence right now you have in Luminosity. You know, I was talking to Octane, and he said Ghost Saints is back. I mean, the confidence is there at an all-time high. He legitimately thinks there is nobody that can outgun him right now. We know there's been no one that can outgun Octane on the other side. The confidence is carrying these guys. The skill is unbelievable.
And there's that break we were talking about. 30 seconds left for them to get. MindFreak so far have only got about 20 off this hard point, so LG, they might not be rotating first, Maven, but still, they continue to build on this lead. It's now up to 50 seconds. Fight is just desperately trying to contest inside this hard point. But you've got Octane watching over at that before. Thankfully, Fighter's 2-piece cuts them both down.
There they get the break back, but there's only 8 seconds remaining. Yes, you're able to get some time, but you've got to hold on to this. And how frustrating can it be for MindFreak? Think about it. You're playing pretty solid from the standpoint, like you said, you're rotating early, you're getting set up, you're making a lot of smart plays, but when Luminosity just breaks through you like water, at some point, it's just got to get so frustrating over the course of the game.
Well, we talked about one player that needs to step up big time, especially in a series against a team like Luminosity. Shocks 4 and 9 right now, double negative to kick off this game. Thankfully, MindFreak are keeping things relatively close and slaying, but the worry is always as the game goes on, as LG warms up, what will then happen, especially in the kill feed? That's where they normally take over these maps, and they're looking to do so here as we start our second rotation.
Well, a nice break for MindFreak. Can they rack up a ton of time here? There's just over 20 seconds remaining. Fight to the next man up, but it's Octane and Classic that are able to push through. Dens has got to play his life for the moment. It's going to be time towards LG. He's got FTL to work with. His teammates are all spawning out in rocks and trying to rotate back to him. Finally, I mean, he's in a 1v4 scenario there. He ends up falling.
That right there reminds me of so much of kind of what Jurg does for Splice, right? Where he's just the thorn in the side, always sprinting around the map with an ERAD there. Because he gets those 2 kills, the rest of his team spawns up right in that observation deck at the bottom left of your minimap. That then lets the rest of his team flood into this hard point, and they win the early rotation.
Exactly. Again, they win the early rotation. They get that first set of kills. The question is, can they hold on here? You hold this time, you're right back in the game. And LG, time and time again, cruise right on through. Is this the time where MindFreak finally gets that big stand that they need? So far, so good, but Luminosity about to have a 3-man hit.
Yeah, they're going right on through. Buzzo and Shocks with the first couple kills. Classic, the only one here inside the objective, does get away with 2. It's down to a 1v1 with Saints. up against Dens. Dens with the FTL jump sneaks right by, but still LG have a pressure near the hard point.
I mean, props to MindFreak. I mean, LG, this game's probably close because of some sloppy decision-making. I think it comes down to the fact that they just think they can break whenever they want to. There, they couldn't do it. A lot of time for MindFreak.
Great start for MindFreak right now. They brought this back down to a 25-second game. But what I do want to point out, make sure everyone at home realizes, prior to Stage 2 starting, they did not go back to APAC. They did not go back to ANZ. They stayed here in North America. They boot camped down in Atlanta to make sure they could have the best practice possible. And honestly, maybe that's showing right now in this first game. They have a chance to take the lead here on Hangar.
It absolutely is. So far, they're holding, but all the pressure right now coming from the front side. Buzzo going to end up wrapping back, trying to get a flank and watch the map. Just spots one. The reaction just a little bit slow, and just like that, Octane a three-piece. Classic gets a kill as well, and there's the break that you can't let happen that early in.
And see, right there's a perfect example of a strat that shouldn't work for any other team, but LG can get away with it. They just had 2 people pushing into break a hill with 4 people alive on MindFreak, and did it strictly off of gunfight engagement wins. That was it. Octane with the 3 you mentioned. You had help there from Classic and middle map. Falls apart for MindFreak. Even that little bit of contest time will give LG the advantage on this rotation towards observation deck. But again, who's the thorn in the side? It's Dens, nearly with the 2-piece.
Yeah, if he gets both those, would have been huge, but nice positioning from him to try to get the cutoffs on that spawn for Luminosity. The duo of Slacked and Saints able to bust through. Octane tacks on one as well, and it's all for the kill feed for Luminosity. MindFreak now coming off spawn.
And one thing we talked about a lot at Anaheim, LG had the biggest slaying and point differential in hardpoint of any team there. Right now, that is not the case. The game's still close, but look at Octane right now, 18 and 15. You notice something in the scoreboard, Maven? 2 minutes and 8 seconds inside the hard point. The man's doing it all right now.
He really is. He keeps tacking on more time, but now he's pushing out and trying to get the cutoff. So look where the spawn comes in. It's going to be Saints that has to deal with it. He thinks it's coming in Hangar and Rockside. They get a split spawn there for MindFreak, and it ends up working out. I think Classic actually just spawned in behind as well. They might put one more attack on this, but with 10 seconds remaining, we'll be looking to set up for the next hard point. You're still in this if you're MindFreak, but you got a lot to fight back. Just 39 more points needed for LG.
And it's crazy to see so far, Maven, when LG get to a hill prior to MindFreak, the difference in score that they've been able to get. Yeah. Right there, they get early positioning on drill. They get about 35 seconds off of it, and it brings them right back to this 60-second lead, arguably their largest lead of the game right now. MindFreak had a chance at one point, but their slaying slows down. They wind up having Fida now at -6. Buzzo just drops a negative as well. They're losing engagements inside the objective, and you just can't have that happen against a team like LG. They're going to punish you for it.
Well, Jack, we've got 30 seconds remaining here on the bridge hardpoint. Turbine could be where it's ended unless they can get it done right now. Luminosity trying to close out the game. Wow. They just need 10 more points remaining. A Scarab will be out to lead the way. This likely will be it.
That is going to do it. Saints here with the Scarab as well. Slows down the players. 250 to 166. Our CWL Anaheim Open champions. Honestly, they take game number 1. It wasn't as easy as you'd expect, but still they do exactly what they have to do. They remain focused, and now they're up 1-0 because of it.
And that's, I mean, it's a bit of what we thought coming into the series. Like, it doesn't really matter to a degree how well you play from MindFreak as far as making the right decisions, rotating early. That slaying's got to come from somewhere. Yep. Because you saw just time and time again, it didn't matter what they did. It didn't matter what their positioning was. LG was just going to bust through over and over. And that wasn't like a great game from LG. It was sloppy in a lot of standpoints. If they played that same way against maybe a top North American team, they're likely coming out with a loss there.
Yeah.
But in this matchup, it's enough to get it done.
Oh, especially at the Turbine hardpoint. They got out-rotated both times. Thankfully, Classic had a miraculous play in the first one where he was able to kind of lead the charge back through Warehouse to go for that pinch. And then on the second one, it was a lot of contesting because you saw like 2 players push in, they would trade a kill, the other guy would hop in from that outer catwalk area. LG, that hard point, they got through it, I think is the best way to put it. Now we refocus to search and destroy, and we always say it, but this is a must-win map for MindFreak. You cannot go into uplink down 2-0.
Well, Jack, throughout the course of that, too, we talked a bit about the boot camping and the fact that you needed a better practice from MindFreak. We did have a chance to sit down with the team.
When we made the roster change, we did it for the long run, not so much the short period.
Yeah, playing with Dens, I guess we played with him for 2 years previously until he left us at the start of this game, but I feel just the more we play, the more confident we get in each other.
Obviously, we didn't have a great MLG Anaheim, but we didn't have a great first event either with Cody. I think our first event was an Australian one, so it was a bit easier, whereas this one was sort of chucked in the deep end.
We weren't all on the same page exactly as the tournament setting.
We're able to improve just through knowing what each other does, so just more time playing with each other. I'm learning how they play certain situations, so we'll be more on the same wavelength and more tempered control.
Besides that, out of game, we have a guy that we can chill out with. We don't need to worry about him being immature, lazy, and sort of treading on eggshells every time we're sort of living outside of playing Call of Duty.
After Anaheim, we came back to Atlanta, where we've been boot camping for the last month. Pretty much just went over the VODs of what went wrong.
We've just been playing a lot of scrims against the North American team.
It is quite frustrating. Obviously, better competition means you're probably going to lose a bit more, but losing's learning for us, so we're able to put that into practice.
You have to go hard every single game, otherwise you're going to get punished for it, whereas if you're not playing 100%, you're just going to get smashed every game.
Living in America compared to Australia is kind of good and bad. Like the bad things are like you're kind of, sometimes if you're in a bad mood, you have to see your teammates every day. And it's kind of draining.
I miss Australia a lot. I miss being able to drive my car, go to the gym. To get anywhere you want to be, you got to catch an Uber. I mean, the currency is a bit more expensive for us, so everything that we buy, while some products are cheaper, the currency sort of evens out a bit to not be in our favour. It racks up the bills a bit.
Interesting for the boys from MindFreak coming all the way from the APAC region, unique to them in the Call of Duty World League. You heard Buzzo mention, the difference in currency. I know a way to make that problem go away. It's by winning Stage 2. Pretty simple, right? You win a lot of money, and everything seems to go away when you have those problems. Will MindFreak do it? I don't think so, but hey, you know what? Best of luck to them.
That's a question for Matt, our Australian expert.
Yes.
But right now,
He'll be here soon.
They are facing a series deficit down a map. They'll have to fight back here in the search and destroy. You gotta hope, if they've been scrimming so much, practicing, trying to get improved here for Stage 2. We know throughout the course of the year how tough they've played teams at times. They've pushed top teams to Game 5s pretty frequently. Just haven't come out on top. Maybe this boot camp is all they needed to kind of get through that barrier. It's tough. You start your first series against the best team in the world.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how much you can judge from this. I mean, most people looking at this, you talk to any kind of expert or analysis, don't expect a single series loss for Luminosity this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's more than safe to say. I think that they're going to be the ones that try to chase that perfect 6-0. We'll see if they can do it. Either way, though, we are heading into Search and Destroy for Game 2. For LG, Maven, for you, because I wanted to ask, you've always been someone who's always brought up, the difference in S&D from LG earlier this year to now. What for you has been the biggest difference to why they're now over that 50% barrier in the game mode?
As much as it's been, I guess, a team effort, it's Octane for me. He went from dropping from like a 1.2 respawn down to somewhere around a 0.8 KD when it came to Search. He's been amazing. I mean, his KD in Anaheim, I can't remember what it finished out as, but it's 1-2 plus for Search and Destroy. I talked to him individually about it, like, what's changed for you, bud? How have you improved in Search? He's like, I stopped trying to, always worry about where the other team was and make the right place, and just worried about winning gunfights and finding kills. He took control of Camo. We'll see if he's still doing it this event, but he took that from Classic and Search as well. He's like, I know I can win gunfights against anybody. I put myself in a position to do it, and it turns me around. So that's been the single biggest thing. He's been a freak at every game mode. He might be the best player in the world right now. Complete and utter monster.
Yeah, and Classic, you mentioned he was the Camo player earlier this year, but he had a couple blunders in Search and Destroy. Octane started to play so good, so I said, hey, give him that that payload. Classic does still use it in Hardpoint and Uplink, but we will be playing Crusher Search and Destroy in Game 2, a map where you can absolutely see Octane excel from long range with that AR.
And I just can't even think of something to compare it to as far as any other player that has taken one game mode and completely flipped it. Like, you're talking like a 0.5 KD increase. I don't even know anyone else that comes close to that in a particular game mode. It's been pretty special to see, and I think the results for them in tournaments lately speaks for themselves.
Well, let's get it started. Game 2, can MindFreak bounce back in the best of 5, or will LG take that coveted 2-0 series lead heading into Uplink? For now, we're watching Denz, the new pickup from MindFreak, as he's going to be the only player inside of A just looking for some information, and he'll immediately back up with his team. It's going to be a fast execute, Maven.
They should be getting a free bomb plant here. You see mid-nade control still in the hands of Luminosity. They're going to know what's up very shortly as the bomb will be getting planted, and they'll begin the rotation and retake. And this is a strategy we saw from them in Anaheim. They feel confident they can control mid-map, rotate, and they win this 4-on-4 fight. We saw them do it time and time again.
Octane was watching the cross. They know nobody is here on rocks, so they have full peace of mind to take control of this area and begin to flood through the site. Grenades going out everywhere. 28 seconds remaining. Here comes the move from LG. First challenge comes in. Saints and Classic each with a kill. It's Buzzawall by himself. He's now dead. Quick 4 kills for LG, and Maven, you mentioned it. It looks like that confidence is still there.
That's textbook defense from what we saw from them in Anaheim. You know, they're like, go ahead. If you're going to plant it there, we have no doubt in our minds if we have 4 players alive, use all your nades. Get them out as soon as they're gone. You saw as soon as they all went off, they all just hit. And when are they going to lose a 4-on fight to MindFreak? They shouldn't. I mean, will it happen? Absolutely. But you know they're superior when it comes to gun skill and talent, and they just bullied their way in. Like, they made that look easy.
And the difference in that whole round is just that first blood when pushing through that underpass area. Typically, the team that's now defending and protecting that bomb should have the advantage there holding the angle, but when you get first blooded, not only 1 but 2, that's a disaster for your team. Look at this flank though from MindFreak there, bringing the action right to LG. It's Fida, not gonna get the 2-piece, but still with a first blood.
They hit it very, very quickly. Octane kind of caught with his pants down there, not ready for the play. Now they've got to push through, and look, you've got Din set up here.
They've got to go. They have
inside the hangar. They've got to try and push him out, but now Fida in behind. Fida working on the ace. Did he get the 4th? We'll have to see in the final kill cam, but Fida just ends up beasting them there. That was sick.
Love that shot call from the side of MindFreak. No, it's Shocks with the last kill, but either way, love it from MindFreak. They just say, you know what? Let's fight fire with fire. They keep Dens watching the push through. So LG, they thought, you know what, let's just run away. Let's sprint into garage. They were expecting all 4 to be on the flank. Instead, it's Dens just holding that angle, waiting patiently. It forces LG to pause for a second, and because of that fight, it gets 2 more quick kills.
MindFreak just needs to find a way to get themselves not in situations where you're in a 4-on-4 fight, right? That's going to be fast, going to be frantic. That's going to go LG's way 9 out of 10 times. They need to find ways to get quick opening first bloods like that and let it come down to the strategy. Solid job there in the second round.
I'm happy we got this perspective because this is what Octane is seeing. He just called 2 people cross. So LG know there's at least 1 on the site. Now they know 3 on rocks. How do they try to retake this time around? Looks like they're focusing more towards this mid-cut area, and wow. 2 one-shot players, 2 bullets from Octane. Here's the retake. There it is, 44 gunfights. LG are not losing that.
They're not going to. It's that simple. It's not going to happen. You saw it as much as Hardpoint and Search and Destroy are different game modes completely. It's the same reason they were retaking Hardpoint.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. You throw 4 people at them, they're going to win those fights.
And look at MindFreak. First time on offense, they get a free plant at B. They all stay passive, wait at those outer crates, wait for LG to push them. They die. The next time they get a free plant at B, they say, you know what, let's get aggressive towards rocks. Let's see if that works. They die. Now at this point, if you're taking B, I'm sending 3 to B, and I'm keeping 1 player like Dens pushing towards this A area, looking for a flank, trying to shoot LG in the back.
Well, here we go, though. It's back-to-back defensive rounds, and where they're able to get that opening pick. First time it was Fida. This time it's going to be Shocks. This is how you got to win the game. You need to get that early advantage, but this time, Classic able to bring it back to even early. That changes the round entirely.
And that was similar to that earlier defensive round from MindFreak, where they wound up immediately giving themselves an opportunity to pinch onto the LG players, basically forcing their hand to go in one direction. The difference this time, though, it's instead of them winning that first gunfight where the LG were pushing, it's Classic who evens the round back out to a 3-on-3. Great spot from Fida.
Yep, you can see, watching a similar angle to what we saw Octane holding. Wisely gets tapped there, backs out immediately. Bomb should be getting planted right now for Luminosity. You can see on X-Ray where they're set up. Dins and crew now trying to retake control. Can they bully their way on through like we've seen LG do time and time again? I thought he was going to die for missing that slide for a second.
Dens gets away with his life for a second. Fida and Shocks each with a kill. It's a 1v2. Saints, though. Fida with the trade. Nice job by him. 6 and 2 off the break. Getting closer and closer to that reactive armor.
And that was just, you know, you had, Shocks stay alive mid-map. Fida able to get out of that gunfight there at boxes. Good job just playing their lives, trying to get angles in. It really worked out perfectly with the timing on the flank. Solid stuff there for MindFreak.
When I saw that first grenade get thrown from crates as 2 players were on the site, and it was, I believe, the trophy drone stopped the nade from going in, and I thought that player on crates was dead instantly, but Dens is able to just sneak on away, buys times for his teammate to wrap around and shoot 1 player in the back, opening up that trade to go in their favor. MindFreak, again, just like game one, keeping it close early on, but we'll see if LG can begin to pull away.
Well, let's see if they change what they're going to do on this round. So it's going to be Luminosity mixing it up.
Yep. So Dens, again, goes for this A flank, sees nothing. Because he sees nothing, MindFreak, who were originally going towards B, have now rewrapped towards middle. They're doing a great job of using what information they get early on in the round to secure a free plant.
Here you go, another first blood, but Saints able to answer back quickly. Bomb now planted. It'll be another 3v3 scenario here. We're going to be on with Fida's POV as he's holding in, trying to defend the bomb. He's got Shocks watching the top. Shocks, good job, backing down. He saw one pushing over the sky bridge.
And look at the difference. LG are always just flooding through together as a unit, while MindFreak are always looking for a pinch, always looking for a free kill from the back, catching a player off guard. That's the right way to play it. Here's an example with Buzzo now doing that. Shocks all by himself. Slack reads him like a book. LG, again, man, they just flex their muscle and push right on through.
Well, right now it's been, what, everybody perfect here on defense so far from these two teams.
I have to say, I'm liking what I'm seeing from both teams. It's not like someone's playing bad here. It's why this game is close. It's because what are MindFreak doing? They're using whatever information they can get to get quick plants, and basically from there just trying to defend that bomb. From the side of LG, they're playing it passively, figuring out exactly where MindFreak are going, and then retaking as a unit, not going for some cheeky flank, not looking for a free kill. They're just going together and confident in their ability to trade. Both teams playing their style, and it's why it's a one-round game.
Well, we'll see if the defense continues to hold strong. It's going to be MindFreak's turn to try and get it done. This time the push slowly progressing towards A, though, for Luminosity. They're playing it slow up mid-map. There should be a fight in U here. Slack gets him right before he hits the edge. The melt power of that E-Red at its finest.
Yeah, just drops him immediately. Shocks, gonna be the first one challenging here for MindFreak. Gets at least one. Buzzo now there, a trade from Slack. He's now got a tail jump, does he use it? Doesn't appear so, but it's Octane there with the trade so fast. The first offensive round win now finally goes to LG.
And will that be the difference? It very, very well could be. You know, when you're battling back and forth, you're kind of feeling each other out. You saw similar strats the first couple of rounds. Now, as they mix it up, finally, you have a different result. And that could be all the difference here, honestly, with the way that how well they've been playing on defense. That might be it.
And that right there, I think, is a perfect testament to how LG have changed as a team in S&D. Always having that trade opportunity. It's a major difference that's come into play. And again, Octane, someone that in the past who struggled in S&D, probably wouldn't have been in that position earlier this year, but now ready to be there to help his teammate. Again, MindFreak with a free plant, LG gonna have to retake the A site.
And they've been flawless, right, when it comes to the retakes, whether they've been stacking mid and A and retaking towards B, or what we see now. They're pushing back through, looking for a retake here on the A site.
How many teams would you have seen, you know, send one towards this side, look for a pinch in middle map, and no, LG are just going to flood it again. It's the same thing over and over. MindFreak knows this is happening, but they've yet to be able to stop it.
Yep, wait for their nades to come out. Now you come in with your own. Classic able to open it up. Slack trying to trade the kill, hasn't been able to finish it. Somehow getting away with his life. Who was that? Was that Buzzo? Fida just barely gets away, and again it opens it up for Buzzo to come in from behind. Now, quickly, everybody dropping though. Luminosity gets it done.
He did get it. Okay, I was wondering if he hopped on bomb in time. That was one of those where he's just got to hope that Octane gets a kill. Thankfully he did. And what did I say when it was 2-2? You wound up having a scenario, right, where MindFreak are playing close. Will LG pull away? LG just pull away. Now one round for being up 2-0 in this series.
I thought when Fida got away with his life there, and you saw the flank coming in on the other side, that Buzzo was going to be able to close out a couple kills, but
he had terrible, terrible shots. Look at that second gunfight he just got in.
Yeah.
Whiffs a bunch of bullets, and because of it, he's punished. That's a kill you cannot give up if you're Buzzo.
Yeah, you know, you have Fida taking all the eyes, basically, of Luminosity towards you. You need to win those. And, well, that's where he can be a liability in time. But we talk about the intangibles he brings to the team. You're going to need all of those and more right now as you're trailing by 3 rounds in game 2.
Don't do that, Shocks. First blood now for Saints. Classic using that rear guard that blocks him a bullet for him, keeps him alive. Third kill in the round for LG. Shocks by himself. He's been spotted. He's just trying to get away. Don't think it's going to happen here as LG push on through 6-2, 4 rounds in a row. They're now up 2-0.
But first 5, it's all defense. Who can take it? Once that one round on offense goes the way of Luminosity, just steamroll from there. But and again, you mentioned it was pretty close throughout the early part of the game and the hard points. Similar could be said here for the S&D. It's just like, I guess what separates sometimes good from great teams is you kind of have you have another switch, like another mode, right? You just completely dominate and take over. You saw a new gear going in them for Luminosity. They made that look easy.
Now MindFreak have to do the impossible. reverse sweep LG with 2 respawns coming up next in uplink and then hardpoint if we go to that game 4. MindFreak boys, I love you. You've got some good slaying power now, adding Dens to this team, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's be fair. I mean, this is not a series that I think anyone expected MindFreak to take, right?
No.
So you need to, if you're going to come in, yes, it's a tough draw. Yeah, you're getting beat up pretty much by Luminosity right now, but you have to think about it. It's double round robin. You've got 3 days to play here. There's a whole lot of action, but you still have a chance. Can you fight back here? Can you do the reverse sweep? It's uplink up next. We'll get to it right after this quick break.
It's our first G Fuel Key Player matchup for Stage 2 of the CWL Global Pro League presented by PS4. And it's a battle between Shocks and Saints, 2 very aggressive players who are great slayers for their team. You can see there the 1.13 uplink KD from Shocks, the 1.07 uplink KD from Saints. Very even stats, especially when you look at those total points so far we've seen from them in the Global Pro League. What will Shocks be able to do, though, in Game 3 to help his team not only secure that map, but potentially begin the momentum they need to get a reverse sweep against the best team in the world, LG? This has been your G Fuel Key Player matchup.
A shot there of the LG guys as we get ready for Game 3.
It's very ominous.
Yeah, we talk about the key player matchups kind of between these two teams, and when you look at as much as we've been going on about how good Octane's been, I mean, we talk about it because he's been insane. But Saints right there with him, statistically has been a monster. But some of the guys that don't get enough credit at times, when you look at Classic and Slack, like I feel like they've just been so consistent. And a lot of times, if you're a viewer or a caster, you look at kind of the flashy plays, the high number in the KD department. But those guys they've all been so good when we were looking through Anaheim. Each one of them, man.
No, and honestly, right now it's Octane with the spotlight. Saints, who's turned it around in a big way, but you mentioned they're still great. I roasted Classic a little bit before on Twitter. Obviously, we're all friendly with these guys. I played one map of 8s. They let me in. The pro players let me into their world.
That was dumb.
I went 18 and 29 with 1 minute and 1 second inside the hard point. Never earned camo, and I jokingly told Adam on Twitter that I basically did what Classic always does for LG. So obviously Classic does a little bit more than that for his team. And Shocks on the side there, we talk about him in that key player matchup. I mean, he's been electric, but so far a quiet series from him.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we know how good he can be, and he has been throughout the course of the year, but I think it's fair to say that, from us to the analysis, we were a little bit surprised, a little bit shocked to see how well he did in stage 1.
So funny.
Statistically, he was absurd, right? Like that was just nuts what he was doing. Going off, can you really fairly expect that same level of performance here in stage 2?
That's the worry, right? Is when you think of players who had ridiculous performances, you have Shocks, you have Zero, you have Octane, right? Shocks doesn't come to mind for me as someone that I expect to be able to continue to do that at that caliber.
At the crazy level he was, right? Still incredible, but...
Yes, but do I think he's going to put up close to a 1.3 like he was doing? No. Yeah. You think of someone like Zero, who at one point was at like a 1.45. Do I think he's always going to keep that up? No, but do I have confidence he can continue like a 1.2? Yes. When you think of Octane, when they won, he wasn't putting up 1.5s or anything. He was doing a 1.25. And Octane's a player that I think he can do that every single event. Simple as that.
And so we're clear, we talk about KD a lot. 1.2 is elite. I mean, that's when you're in top 5, top 10 overall from an event.
That's when you're typically like top 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Not even top 10.
Yeah, incredibly elite statistics. We'll see if he can continue it this week. And Slack there, going from the K-bar to the E-Rad, just melting around the edge. Now it's high off of bowling, the toss away, and good. 1-0 edge.
I thought for a second it was Slack who brought this up, but it was actually Classic earlier. I was speaking with him outside with a few players from EG as well as Classic, and he looked at me and said, Jack, I just can't hit ones anymore, man. I was like, you should probably get that figured out, Classic. There, Slack gave him a little bit of a showing of how you can hit that high throw from over that bowling building as LG get their first point on the board.
Well, we talked a lot about Shocks. Let's watch from his POV. Top window, able to slow down that satellite drone as they try and push it up the gut. Unfortunately for him, 2 of his teammates dropping. Octane just killed everybody. That's 3 in a row for him. He might actually get the 4th. Octane kills all 4 there and is able to set up the 1-point toss. And that's what we're talking about. There's just very few players that can go and do that and just kill an entire team. And that's why, how many times we were watching Octane and Luminosity against just about everybody on this map. He's so good that, when you look at the minimap at the top left, like the bottom side there by bike path, when he gets set up, whether it's a K-bar, whether it's an MV4, he can lock down an entire side. He's still going off. He had, 3 in a row before, 3 more here. I mean, all of his kills have come in those 2 flurries.
Yeah, and he's continuing to go now as he weakens 2 players, not able to continue that streak, but either way, the damage has been done as LG continue with some pressure on the map. As I say that, though, it's MindFreak who strike back. Fight at 8 and 6. Only player on his team with more than 3 kills, looking for this pinch, and I love plays like this, Maven. They're not expecting it. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Oh my God. He didn't see him.
Is this going to somehow work out? No, it doesn't. Octane.
Oh no, is that a Maven's mishap?
Yeah, that's gotta be. He's set up in the back. He just doesn't spot him. I think he was just so focused on the pass coming in that his eyes just, maybe they were kind of drawn to the left side. I don't know how that happens. I mean, it was clear as day for us on the strain. Tough turn of events.
All right, here's another chance.
Yep.
They get 4 dead. MindFreak pushing forward. They know the players are going to spawn back market and barn. Shocks is already in a perfect position to shut down Classic. This should be at least a 1 for Buzzo. Nope, he wants the dunk. Doesn't get it! He doesn't get it, he runs out of boost, he misses the wall run, and MindFreak have the easiest point ever to score. Somehow go out of it without a point on the board.
That's up there as the 60 worst
Why is
seconds.
my voice this high-pitched?
60 worst seconds I've watched of Uplink. It's right up there with Fnatic on Frost. Was that stage 1? It was just a horrendous little stretch of plays.
All right.
Okay, 4 down again.
3 times a charm.
This time it's in their base, though, so all it's going to do is get them back to mid-map. But, I mean, this should be a tie game or a lead, actually, for MindFreak. That should have been a dunk.
All right. This feels like Groundhog Day. They're pushing forward. What? They've got 4 players alive. They've got a flank coming in from Dens. They have a perfect chance for a score. Octane, he's the only one here. MindFreak, please. They're pushing in. There goes the dunk. Yes, MindFreak. They get points. Still much closer than I think it needed to be.
Yeah, at least you get some points on the board. You tie up the game, but you'd like to have a couple of those moments back if you could. Now we switch POVs over to Luminosity, and we're watching Classic as he is just holding forward, trying to find kills with the ERAT, and he does just that. And that combination, you know, at times of him and Saints, when they're constantly just in your face, whether it's K-Bar or ERAT, just flying at you over and over and over, I feel like it's almost exhausting to deal with on a map like Throwback Up.
Oh, and you didn't even mention Slacked in that. He's also right there with him. Trust me, they're all holding hands as they take control of your base. Even now, Slack, the furthest pushed forward, he's just trying to be a nuisance as the rest of his team comes off spawn. And that's what you got to love right there about Octane, right? Slack knows someone's pushing down that street. He has full peace of mind that Octane with that NV4 is going to go towards back Lemon, win that one-on-one gunfight, and give Slack now the opportunity to push forward. He's basically got his free bodyguard with Octane. Look, everyone's dying around him.
Yeah, finally Octane drops, but it does make Slack's job easy as somebody kind of calling out the position of people over the top.
Here we go.
Also putting shots down.
Well, Classic said he never hits ones anymore. Oh, I think, would that have been short? I think it would have.
You know, he lost his forward momentum there off the wall. I don't know. It looked good to me, but it was going to be close.
And just like games 1 and 2, the first half of the map is close between LG and MindFreak. But in games 1 and 2, it was LG who completely turned up in the second half of the games to take those maps.
And you just have to keep going back and keep hitting it. You know, a lot of times you're making the right plays if you're MindFreak. You did a really solid job in the hard point. You were rotating early. You were controlling a lot of those power positions. You just weren't winning the gunfights. Here, there's actually a little bit of a shift in the sense when it comes to mid-map. They've been doing a good job getting 3 or 4 down, kind of winning those team-on-team fights, which they haven't done over the course of the series. It's now like the mental errors when it comes to putting the points in.
There's a 1 kill difference going into side 2 in favor of LG when it comes to slaying.
And that's everything
now it's
you
gone.
want if you're
Now
MindFreak.
it's gone first off with that 2-piece, now 3 kills in a row. But you also have to mention, I think MindFreak put more pressure on LG that side than LG did to them.
Oh yeah, and there's another point on the board. Lead to MindFreak, outplaying Luminosity right now. And this is a map where we've seen lots of upsets. Think back to stage 1. It was, what, a 12-0 victory for Fnatic over FaZe. We've seen this happen. It's a map that you can hit flanks very, very quickly. You can set up in sneaky corners and make big plays. They've been outplaying them so far, but the lead still should be a lot bigger.
And Octane now with overdrive. They're not ready for it. Doesn't get the dunk. What a stop from Vita. Thankfully has that ERAT up close and just shreds right through that armor of the drone. Octane trying to get crafty there, but Vita reads him like a book.
Hell of a defensive play there. Now, can you turn defense into offense is the question. 2 players dropping from either side. He's playing here at Bike Path. He knows he's getting flanked. Nice job there to turn and kind of be aware of the situation. Unfortunately, you run out of one of the most deadly NV4s up close and personal. That's Octane's.
And look at the positioning he's always finding himself in, right? If you want to be a great NV4 player, watch how Octane plays. He's always kind of just, it looks like he's always fading away. Look, right there, just falling back, getting as much space as possible. There's the one from Slack. All 3 ones he's gotten has come off the back of an Octane 2-piece. Every single 1-point play is put on the board. It started by Octane getting 2 kills in the opponent's base.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the slaying. It's Octane. I mean, right now he's got basically 10 more than everybody else in the lobby. He's just completely controlling it from mid-map to bike path, just shutting it down. And now it's another push here from Slack. There's 1 purple player coming then off a spawn through the backside. He goes ahead and wisely takes the 1.
I'm loving what I'm seeing from Slack in this game. Selfless stuff. Always grabbing that drone. He's got 4 throws already, every single point for LG, but what's even more important to bring up, Maven, is that not once so far have I, doubted his ability to go for that play, to go for that 1 instead of forcing a dunk. Nice job by Classic there to find a sneaky route to put another point on the board. LG are now up by 2.
They're starting to pull out a bit. Nice job, though, by Shox and Dens to at least clear out mid, give themselves a little bit of map control. The last remaining player from Luminosity that's trying to make a play, I think, is Classic actually at mid-map. And look what he's doing again. Can we switch to Classic's POV? He's just hitting the opposite side time and time again, just making sure he's ready at mid to hit inside their window if need be. Just being annoying as hell, as long as he can, every single life. And he's doing one brilliant job here, backing up that push from MindFreak.
Slack gets the 2-piece himself this time. Again, the 1 immediately thrown. That's now 5 1-point plays, Maven. Great stuff from him. A 2-possession lead now with just 2 minutes remaining.
And again, back to what we said before the series. I mean, or before this map. A lot of times, we maybe don't highlight Slack as much, but you can see what he does. He's 17 and 19. Is that anything to write home about for Slang? No. But like you said, 5 points in the objective. It's been one hell of a performance, but now the counterattack opportunity. It's just Fida.
Oh.
It's boosted outside the map. Is it going to be enough? The melee there, but another to trade it out, and it gets cut just short.
I love it, man. MindFreak do what they can to potentially put a point on the board, but there goes one of the most important payloads in uplink as Overdrive is...
And it's going to be big what comes in for the camo players when you're looking at Classic. He's getting very, very close. Shocks just picked it up. So you have that to work with, but unfortunately you're dead, and there's an offensive attack coming through for Octane and company. Another one weak over the top that he can one bullet. Player to his left just got called out. Can't finish it. Buzzo going huge here on defense to pick up two.
This is their last chance. This is their last chance right here. They need a dunk on this play. Slack now one shot. But look, Shocks is going to get shot in the back.
That might be game.
Shocks gets shot in the back. They don't pick up the pinch from field. And just like that, your camo player's now coming off respawn. You've got a Centurion watching that middle lane for LG. That should do it, Maven. They've already got presence near this drone. MindFreak do what they can, but again, the second half of the game is won by LG in every single map, and they'll get the sweep because of it.
Well, what's your biggest takeaway here from the series? This is what we talked about a lot with MindFreak from stage one. They can play teams tough. They would have some close series, some close maps. But I guess it didn't feel like at any point that they were going to beat Luminosity.
No, I think that's simple as that. If you're MindFreak, I think everyone expected that outcome. You put on a pretty good showing. I think they've got some great film to watch here, Maven. I think they've got some great stuff that they can look back at, learn from, especially moving forward this weekend. This could come down to a scenario when we talk about map counts and tiebreakers, where MindFreak might need to be in a scenario where they need to win maps off LG in their second series.
Oh, yeah. And when you take a look at the red group, I mean, I feel like I should have more stock in EG since they're coming off their best finish. We know Parasite's joined the team, and he's been providing a consistent effort, and they've been top 8 throughout the year. But I feel like LG's the only team I just know for sure is qualifying. When it comes to the other three, I think it's going to be a real big fight.
Yeah, most certainly. I do give the edge to EG again there, but Fnatic, they get third at that Sheffield event. They show they're still that tier 2 European squad. You've got the best team in APAC, and EG that, for me, you'd probably put them at tier 3 and A. So you're looking at the talent between those different regions. It can go either way. One thing we know for sure, the best team in the world, LG, make it look easy to start the day.
Well, that's our first series. When we're talking about what's coming up next, I believe it's Fnatic EG, teams that matched up in that crazy week during stage 1. So I'm sure the desk will have a lot to talk about with that series, as well as the one we just got through. LG takes it 3-0, and on the desk, it's Christopher Puckett in the game to break it down.
Thank you so much, Maven and Courage. Let's break it down real quick here, starting with game number 1. Momo, explain the differences when you watch MindFreak with Dens versus MindFreak with the old with Excite on the lineup.
The first thing you see is the one player that's going in. The first player always used to be Excite. He was that one that kind of went in and made those entry kills. This time, though, it forced kind of Fida into that role, and that kind of was shown within, his kill to death. Not everything, but he had kind of a -7 throughout. And the one thing that I will say, yes, Dens filled that role of getting those trades, but the team just looked different. I felt like it was a little bit slower. Dens obviously had that ERAD to back it up as well. But throughout, they fought LG tough, and I will say, it was 150 to 100, 175 to 140. Yes, they were always behind, but when those payloads kind of came in for LG, it just came a little bit too much for LG. And I would like to say, Fire, even though he had that kind of negative throughout the map itself, he played individually very, very good.
Yeah, one of the things I want to bring up too is sort of the nail in the coffin for me on this map is the second hanger on the rotation. Basically, MindFreak had the entire setup at the back. They had a 4 versus 2 scenario and ended up getting broken from the front door. Just things like that should never be happening. That's what sort of lets these sort of games get away from you. You can see at the hangar right there, 61 to 37. That very, very easily could have been a hill that's in MindFreak's favor.
Joe, talk to me, though, about the bridge, because that number 104 to 25 is a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. I mean, just right off the start, you can tell Octane, he has 144 seconds in the hill. I guarantee that a lot of that time probably came in that bridge hill, because what's happening, he's sitting in it with an AR, his teammates are pushing out cuts with those ERADs, and he's just sort of hanging out. Teams have gotten better and better at that bridge hill all year long, and that's a huge difference maker on this map.
Middle hill, and they get 104 seconds on it. Let's take a look, though, at our hardpoint leaderboard. We've been tracking all of the players throughout CWL. And look at Luminosity when it comes to this game mode. You got Dens at the #1 spot with a 1.21. Don't know where those numbers come from, but Octane, Saints, Slacked, and Classic at 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I mean, one thing with Dens, you know, previously with MindFreak, you guys at home, obviously they had Excite, so we've got a little bit less information on Dens. So see that maybe even out towards the end.
Playing against open bracket teams, Untainted Minds, probably where that data comes from.
Absolutely, but you've got to look at that. You know, top 5 is just LG dominating, and I think the Slaying side really just shows.
And all the defense, they were all around like 190 to 200 plus. That means all 4 of them are sort of getting in that hill, just trading with one another. It's what Luminosity is so strong at.
LG, we said they were the champs coming in. They had to defend their throne. What do you think after watching one series?
I don't think that's the best test to really get the full-on story, but I think that leaderboard is very characteristic of them over the year, specifically in the respawns. They're such a balanced team, and when you can have KD ratios on all 4 players within, 0.01, 0.02 of each other, that means they're all contributing at certain times and really baiting and switching the way you need to be a top team. So they've been sort of on the cusp of winning championships the whole year. They're finally doing it now. But that's a team they should 3-0 every single day of the week. So,
well, they did accomplish the 3-0, and game 2 here, this is where you and TP started getting a bit frustrated, Merc. What went wrong for MindFreak?
I thought MindFreak honestly played great throughout. They were getting the bomb plants they wanted, especially on the inner bomb site A. They had a ton of post-plant positions, and they lost every single one. Right here, they win this 4-on-4 gunfight. That's what you want if you're MindFreak, because that's what Luminosity, they're trying to force. Again, look at that mini-map. All 4 of those players are together. They're constantly trying to force these fights. So MindFreak, they decided to switch it up. They said, let's go to that inner bomb site a little bit more often. You can sort of maneuver the map a little bit, sort of fake out Luminosity. They get in 2v3s, 3v3 situations with that bomb down, and you have to be able to clutch up and win those situations.
So many scenarios on this one where Luminosity were able to get a clean team wipe when they're trying to get to the bomb and defuse, and there's, 20 seconds left. When you get that post-plant, or get to that post-plant situation, all you need to do is kill time. So when you can send one of those players on flank over towards the middle, over towards A, for example, we saw multiple times where MindFreak got the bomb down, seemed to have a perfect setup, were killing time, and then the person that was hanging out in the bomb site, whose job is to check the bomb, would linger too long. You have to rely on your flanker to come around that back door or the top hallway, check on that bomb site, and you basically have a free round. They get that guy picked off. I think it happened to him one time. Just several situations where you can literally run away and play a little bit scared, and that's fine at that bomb site sometimes.
TP, to wrap game 2 here, can MindFreak just go back, watch a VOD, and fix this before their next match today?
They should be able to, but it seems like it's reoccurring mistakes, and it seems like the communication's off at times. So they need to really focus on those mistakes now.
They talked about how difficult S&D has been since losing Excite, bringing on Dens. They're not all on the same page, and you can see it playing out in game 2. Let's talk game 3, though, because with 3 minutes left on the clock, I nudged Joe over here. It's like, Joe, it's 3-3. This game's all tied up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first half, MindFreak honestly controlled the pace the entire time. They were playing great. They were slaying with Luminosity. Really, the only guy who was playing extremely well was Octane. The score was 2-2, and MindFreak, they were in the enemy base. And again, look, you have Buzzo going for a 2, should have threw a 1 there. There was another time you missed a wall run. There was just so many opportunities MindFreak had just to even get ones where they sort of make that lead. Maybe instead of 3-3 or 2-2, it's 4 or 5-2. And those points, they make a huge difference. Luminosity, they turn up on that second half, and it's over.
I think the ironic thing was we saw beforehand how they said, we've got to win our 2 S&Ds. The 2 gamers that they played the best were the respawns. They went toe-to-toe with the Slaying of LG, and you don't say that a lot about any team in the world. And I think they are showing promise, and I think something you touched on, Chris, is, throughout this weekend, they've played literally the best team in the world right now, and they've showed promise. I just hope they can go in with the same fire against EG and Fnatic and come out with something.
The problem to me is Australia's always showed promise. Talent has never been the issue, right? You've always had Fida, you've had Shosh, even Buzzo back in the day was always a great player. They've had some top 8 finishes, but in order to win, you can't make any mistakes versus these top teams, and they consistently do it.
The 2 biggest changes I think I've seen with this MindFreak squad is stage 1, loudest team we probably had throughout the groups, always propping each other, always trying to get that hype going wherever they could. And then one of the other biggest differences is, LG didn't have their foot on the gas pedal at all throughout that series. They were playing pretty slow, didn't really seem to be playing with the same amount of energy because they were kind of taking it lightly. So when a team is taking it lightly against you, that's when you need to amp up the pressure and try to get that first win, especially on day one. They probably might not be warmed up all the way. I just didn't feel like they put enough effort into it.
All right. Final thoughts here on MindFreak moving forward. We know LG is the juggernaut here in our red group. MindFreak, what potential did they show? FIDA, clearly he had a decent series despite losing all 3 games and having to be an entry man. Who needs to step it up? Who's playing okay?
I actually think for once, you know, I looked at Buzzo. He played very, very well in the first respawn. If he can continue to do that, great. I do think the likes of FIDA and Dens, they need to work a little bit more together, and they can come off with something special here. But for me, they're a very good S&D team, and they need to get back to that because I think their S&D was sloppy. But overall, I think they definitely have what it takes. Like Joe said, the talent is not missing.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Dens. I mean, he's the new pickup. He was the star. I mean, you talk to some of the NA guys, like when they played him at past events, like, oh, he literally carried his team 1 versus 4. He literally destroyed us. We haven't seen that performance from him, maybe because he just doesn't need to because of guys like Shox and FIDA. But in order to beat these top North American, even top European teams, he has to step up big time, has put up top slaying numbers.
I'm waiting for Dens to drop the numbers of old. When is he going to do it? Will it happen this weekend? We're not quite sure, but we do know we will see all of MindFreak as well as all of the teams playing throughout the Global Pro League in just a few weeks. We are heading to Orlando, Florida, August 9th through the 13th at the Amway Center. Tickets are on sale right now for the Call of Duty World League Championship. $1.4 million on the line, and you can get your tickets on MLG.TV/CWL champs. Our first match is in the books. It was all LG. Octane has come to play once again. Up next, though, we have a battle to see who is going to be able to jump into that second place position. Is it Evil Geniuses? Is it Fnatic? Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.